So our comedy roast uh, is in the can, let's
Yeah,
say,
yeah, it
and that was
worked.
yeah, it was great. Fantastic was Lehman. He was amazing as a general roast master. He
Definitely.
had like what a pro, really, what a pro.
Yeah, but where was your roasts, Tom? Yeah. You're the only guy that didn't roast anybody. I think we need to roast you now.
Well, I was the guy who did the tech, and
Yeah,
did all the email writing. So to keep all the
I know.
people,
You did the admin, right?
I was the guy
Very
who
safe place to be.
who was like bringing the people into the fold and keep them there, like
Hmm.
a dog that takes care of the flock or something.
Like a big
Uh,
daddy of the whole
no,
project.
not the big daddy, but like I don't know. And so Lehman and I, we were like very had an early agreement that he does the public stuff and I do the
Yeah, yeah.
stuff.
No, no, he was great. And what I've discovered from that is like that canned laughter needs to come back.
Right.
Because it's the only way you can have a live situation that's not a live situation. Because
Yeah.
a roast works in a live, in a banquet hall or, in a
Yeah.
wedding, or a roast works with a live audience. So the only way to make it work and make it cool and make it artistic is you did all these sound effects and things like that.
Yeah.
That's how it works. So bring back the canned laughter, man.
I mean, I had a soundboard and I had like all the different things, to interplay with the live performance, right?
Yeah.
But the mistake that we did was that because it was like sex, I told this layman, so it was like great as sex is when it's the first time it's great, but it's very rushed, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so what we have to do next time is like we have to take more time and instruct the roasters to take more time, to have pauses, and then we can jump in with the sound effects and all these kind of things. And so you started it off um, with your roast, and so there was literally I tried to get in with the sound effects, but there was no it was a little bit complicated because it was the first time basically, and so
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
and
It's like, the first time you have sex, you just want to, get your rocks off. And then the
yeah,
second time you do it, it's that something deeper happens. So
yeah,
maybe our next roast will be profound.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the people were really. I mean, I loved that. I loved how Lehman was conducting the thing. I loved Alex Ebert roast. What Farsam did was amazing. You know, Brent's presentation was great. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
so and Raven, fantastic. It's like we had a good hand with selecting the roasters, really.
Yeah, and even the roasters who were kind of bad, maybe myself included, were good because they were bad. Like it worked.
Right. No, no, you weren't bad. It's just like the only problem that I had was with the sound quality of Daniel Tabakman. So I didn't really and Bruce. I didn't get the jokes because I had like sound issues. Right.
But what I'm saying is that some of the people are more naturally better at comedy than others,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
ones that weren't were kind of fun too because they were bad. So
yeah,
that's part of the thing in a good let's say in a good cabaret is you have not good acts but also bad acts.
yeah, yeah.
Now I know that from doing open mics in Montreal. Part of the appeal is you get somebody who's really brilliant and then you get somebody who really sucks, and they're both equally important.
Yeah,
So because the people who suck just make everybody go, "Oh God," and that's part of the show.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not saying anybody really sucked, but some people had a better natural comedic sense than others.
yeah. Yeah, I don't
Mhm.
know. Alex Ebert is one of those people who is just like a stage hog, So you put him on a stage and then he kind of delivers, and it was
Yeah,
just so poignant and so rapid and so confident in because like I was thinking if I should do a roast, I was like, oh, I would always be like a little bit self-conscious because I don't want to hurt the people, but so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to really be in that zone that you don't care, and then you just deliver the performance.
yeah,
And Alex is great in this, and Layman too. They're just
yeah.
um
Because he's not afraid to say something that would, under normal circumstances, be painful,
yeah.
and to hear. Yeah, but
I was so much laughing because what did he say? Like Parallax, what is it good for? What's
yes, it's like, he made this, irony about, so, if Parallax didn't exist, like the
so
world
what
would
difference
still
would
kind
it?
of go on. We're not that important.
No.
We believe ourselves to be very important, but we're not. We're not.
Yeah. And I love that shit. It's like I've listened to so much comedy over the week. It's like I watch Kill Tony and listen to a comedy podcast or watch a Netflix comedy special. I just love that shit. And because we're also self-serious, and then to bring in,
Yeah,
criticism and humor and all of this, I really love that.
yeah. And Brett, Cooper was kind of interesting because this guy is obnoxious. I mean, he knows it, and everybody knows it. He's completely an obnoxious, communicator. And but he turned that into comedy, and I thought, oh, that's where he belongs.
Yeah, and so much effort. I mean, I think it was really great what he did.
He
So
did an excellent job, and I was like, wow,
yeah.
this guy should, if he wasn't so serious about his ideas, then this is because I don't know, because it's comedy is a way of dealing with like pain or something, painful.
You know what it is? Because you're mentioning it, I think because it's an online, because we're moving through the internet and through these online forums and Facebook, and it's all, it's like there's a disconnect between, the persona that we are in real life, and then we
Mm,
try to find a persona. I mean, it's the same with we talked about this with Daniel Goertz. So he has like constructed this whole persona, Hansi Freinacht, and this persona has way more. This Hansi Freinacht persona has way more online riz, let's say, than Daniel Goertz. And I don't say this to put him down. It's just like this online persona of Hansi Freinacht fits fits very well to this kind of online and to the digital age.
yeah, well, we
Because
need a persona in a way in order
yes,
to. If we're
and
just
so what?
sincere, then we're toast, right?
Yes, and so what Brand did, he created an online persona, and that worked.
Yeah.
you know and so because he had time to hone that and to work on, and so I mean, I know this from myself that that when I have more time to edit myself, then I can more carefully construct the online personality. And so it's like this disconnect between real life and online life, and I think
Mhm.
Brent did an amazing job with that.
Yeah, and it reveals another dimension of a person that you don't get, in the online experience.
Right,
Another dimension of who the people are.
right.
It makes it's a richer, more high resolution version of who the person is when you have humor attached to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
like humor is so essential. Otherwise, people just really take themselves deadly seriously, and they make themselves sick. So
yeah,
humor is like, it's also it's a release valve. You know, so people there's a way in which I feel like internet communication is very combative. It's very aggressive.
yeah,
It's full of it's full of logos, and it's full of attack.
yeah.
And so if you can diffuse some of that energy, in humor, it probably helps relationships, right? If we can
Yeah,
laugh at each other, then we can get along better.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I think it's like when we do that again, we have a more clear-cut way to approach this topic, because I think like a natural roast has like three components. Like every roast has three components. So the first component is, the first phase or the first step is being self-depreciative.
Hmm.
Okay, so, and Raven did this great. Hello, so I'm the token vagina in this in this place, you know.
Hmm.
Then you have the roast itself, where you can get mean, and then the third step is to be conciliatory, you know, where you can say, okay, no, now I did my piece, but I really like you guys, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
so and so
It's
and I
like you
think that,
beat the shit out of each other, but then
yeah,
you
now let's suck some
realize
cock. Yes.
that you're in the ring. You're at MMA, and now you can all suck each other's. Everybody's happy.
And everybody's happy, yes.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was
Because it's
good.
like a romance, I think, such a roast. So it's like, it's like the better you know somebody, the better you can insult them. And I think like a hallmark of true friendship is that, that you can stick a knife in and both can laugh.
Yes.
And so it's like because it's a sign that you know somebody. If you can insult them and you can both laugh and then the person insults you back, it's a sign of friendship. And a roast is something like that. It's like a simulation of, well, I love you and I make fun of you and we laugh together. And so it's
Yeah.
it's it's healing
Well,
for everybody. Mm.
and also it allows us to relax in our imperfections, because we're always trying to be something all the time, in a social
Right.
million,
Yes.
right? We
Yes.
always because we always have some. We're always afraid of what people think, and we have this. Yeah, what Alex Ebert talks about that a lot. There's this intense social anxiety
Right.
that goes along, and I think a roast or humor diffuses that and allows everybody to get off their sort of high horse of being so intelligent. Like I liked Alex's thing about, oh, you guys, you're you like to use words, and because
Yeah.
everybody's such a fucking intellectual, and they use all these fancy words, and there's all these intellectuals, and there's something disjointed or slanted or like you know distorted about logocentric about the whole scene. um
Right.
and so again, humor brings like the bottom back from all this
The dirt and the
headiness, the dirt.
yeah.
Yeah, there has to be a bit of dirt in the story, otherwise people are so pure and abstract and theoretical about everything. And
Yeah, and we're just, in the end of the day, we're just idiots that will be like soon forgotten as soon as we die. So there's nothing,
Mhm.
so there's nothing,
Speak for yourself, Tom.
yes,
I'm
no,
gonna.
of
I
course.
will be immortal, but maybe
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah. No, but I mean, it's like who are we kidding? We are all in the same boat. It's
mhm,
like we all suffer. We all have our problems and the little things, and we try to get by, and we're struggling, and so to pretend that we are like always on our high philosophical horse, that doesn't make any sense.
mhm, mhm.
um
Yeah, Gurdjieff had this thing called idiotism,
yeah,
which I like very much. Um, it's part of his dances. So each person would express their particular quality of idiotism.
yeah,
And he had this whole list of different kinds of idiots, like the religious idiot. They had funny names for them, like the zigzag idiot. I forget what
yeah.
kind that was. He had a
I
whole
remember, yes.
taxonomy of idiots, and we all have that. Like we all have a sort of intolerable, blindness and neurosis to our character, even if we're quite, socially adapted or or
Yeah,
whatever. We're still fucking crazy, fundamentally.
yeah,
So I think that's a profound thing, is to find out what your clownish nature is. Like, what's the clown inside of you? What's the deep clown? Like, what is that? Uh-huh. What are people laughing at? What can people see in us that we take so very seriously about ourselves that we often can't see in ourselves, or something like that?
yeah.
Hmm.
But the point and the existential point is that success doesn't change you. What changes you is failure. And so failure and the admittance of failure is way more human than anything else. And so there's this moment in this show, Kill Tony, when Tony Hinchcliffe asked the audience, I mean, it's the most successful podcast, live podcast there is. And so he asked the audience, so do you like when people do good on the show? And the people applaud, because he brings out 5 or 10 people. They all have 1 minute and they're all bloody amateurs, right? And so they
Yeah.
can test themselves. So they have and so the people applaud, and then he asks, so but do you like when they do bad? And so the crowd is cheering because it's so cathartic to see like somebody get on stage, completely bomb, be a complete failure, get made fun about,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then but then there's this cathartic element. Yeah, I'm still here. I failed. I'm a human being. This is still fun,
Yeah.
right? And everybody can relate to failure because we're all failing all the time,
Yeah,
you
and you
know
have to kind of practice failure. Like you have to. I wonder. There's a certain practice I heard about in the yogic tradition. What you do is, if you feel that you're really trying to suck up to somebody, or impress them, or make them think that you're the coolest, or what you do is you go to a dinner party with that person and you sit down and you act like the biggest ass
yeah,
ever. This is the person, like, the important statesman, or the person you think is powerful, or the person you want something. You go in, and that's a practice, so that you're not trying to lower yourself by ingratiating yourself to other people. So yeah, I think failure is definitely a cathartic thing. Usually we don't do it consciously, but there's a way in which, like, you could go into sort of that tension of feeling like this, and or you could allow yourself to fail somewhat, and that might be very helpful, right? That might
right.
that might take a huge burden off of you, of your self seriousness.
I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting because it's so human. So I read a little bit of. I mean, it's completely off topic, but it belongs to this theme. So I've read a little bit about the biography of Andre Agassi, right? And so he became number one player in tennis, but he
Mm-hmm.
did it not for himself. So he was kind of pretending. So he was wearing this wig. This wild wig from the 80s because he was already balding, and he had this public persona of this wild guy. And so he played tennis because he didn't want to fail, and he sucked up, as you said, to other people. And then
Yeah.
he had like he had a nervous breakdown, and he fell on the tennis ranking to, I don't know, 147, like 174, right?
Mm-hmm.
40, no, 147. And then he admitted that he is like a being of failure. And then he
Mm-hmm.
started to work again. He put away the wig, you know, and he started to work again. And not with the goal of being the best, but just to better himself, to admit that that he's like all of us. And then he became again number one. And so that's really great because it's like the one person was completely different than the other, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
admit to failure, and you have to admit to the dirt, and all these little things that we have in our mind that we don't want to see.
Well, the failure of imitation too, that's very
Yeah,
interesting, because I think if you're an artist or something, like, in my case, I wanted to write songs, and I can see that there was, in the beginning of what I was doing, I was just imitating other singers, right?
right,
Unconsciously, right? So I thought that I was writing my own material, but I was actually imitating Bob Dylan or something like that, right?
right.
So there's a way in which you imitate and you imitate and you imitate, and you can't help yourself, because you have to put on the wig for a while. You have to be fake.
Yeah,
You have to be a sort of inauthentic, or feel this sense of imposter syndrome. And then eventually you kind of exhaust that and you become yourself, right?
right,
Or you find your natural milieu. You find the correct environment for you. Um, and it could be just another fake, could be another thing you've taken on. But I think when it comes to excellence, or when it comes to like really, there has to be something unique there going on.
You know
So
what?
maybe
What's
what
interesting?
Agassi found is he found his himself as a tennis player, whereas before he was just a super high powered imitator, or something
Exactly.
like
So
that.
you can in success, and I think that's the crucial point. In success, you can imitate other people, right? But the failures are always your own, you know. And so because I think in the failures, it's where you find the gold. It's like the you know the Kabbalistic alchemistic saying, in the gold you find in the dirt.
In the filth, it will be found in the
Yeah,
dirt, in the
exactly. And
scum,
yeah,
in
and
the
so it's
refuse,
like
and yeah.
because you have to deal with failure, and in the failure you find your uniqueness.
Hmm.
Not
Yeah.
in imitating or copying somebody else. And
Yeah.
so, and that is the cathartic element that we, from a comedy roast or whatever, that we stand there and have to publicly admit, if even if it's just a gesture, you know the what is the noun for that? The failureness of ourselves. The
Mhm.
what is
Mhm.
the proper word for that?
The failureness of ourselves. That's a good
You know
one. Yeah. Well,
what is
the
this shit?
limitations,
The limitation, yes. I will
the
look at
our
failureness.
own, our own,
No,
almost our own. Well, Ivan Illich says that, about friendship. He says a very interesting thing about friendship is the ability to tolerate the intolerable in your friend.
yeah,
Because we all have a sense that, oh, we love somebody, but they're intolerable. Like my wife is intolerable at times,
yeah,
and so am I, right, to her. But we're still in a relationship. It's not like we become. It's not like we ever lose that. We never lose our idiot or our clown or our fool that lives inside of us, right?
yeah,
Our lack, you know, or our complete blindness to certain aspects of our existence, and our repetitive neurotic behaviors and all these things. They don't actually go away no matter how developed we become.
yeah.
It's more of an integration process. Like you were talking about tennis players, I was thinking of John McEnroe. He was so hilarious in
Sure.
the '80s because he just screamed at everybody like the most repulsive human. His whole he was a winner because he was so repulsive. Like he made that into a show.
Yeah, but also he had a day of reckoning, no? So
And
he
then he
also,
came. And then after he realized, but that was all on display. It wasn't hidden.
yeah,
That's kind of interesting. That
yeah,
he was a hysteric.
yeah.
But I guess in his later life, he realized that you can't run on hysteria. Just keep going with this hysteric
I mean, and
energy
the thing with
forever.
McEnroe is that he was so in 83, 84, he I think he had like a winning streak that is still unbeaten, that he was just on another level, and so he was like a superstar at that moment.
Yeah,
And so there's only one way from there, and that's down,
yeah,
and
right. Yeah.
and so, I mean, I
Well,
love I love Louis C.K. in that. So he always talks about, how ugly he is when he fucks, and so he always has like this self-depreciating humor. And then, all this scandal around
mhm.
him arose because he masturbated on the phone, or asked like female comedians to masturbate in front of them. But then he saved that by making, himself again the butt of the joke, and it's like this. That's the only way to deal
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
failure, to publicly admit it, and to.
Sure. Yeah. I was also thinking, like, the actor Klaus Kinski
Yeah,
and his relationship with Werner Herzog, and truly great actor, but again, he didn't ever find that humor in himself, I don't think, and that's why he became a kind of he became his own caricature later on in his life. He
yeah,
became a monster of himself, and
yeah,
it's always a lack of humor like
Right.
humors or like health. Humor equal, if you have a humor, then you still have health in your being, right?
Right.
You haven't been mechanized. You haven't become mechanical man. The humor is like, and again, I'm reading Gurdjieff's book, Beelzebub, and it's just remarkable the humor in that book. It's like
Yeah.
people take it very seriously, but it's so full of humor,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like the most profound things are so full of humor.
Yeah.
Um, I would say.
Yeah, and I think it's I mean, I think it's just a great thing, to have, a medium or like a format where we can practice that, and
Hmm.
to be more,
Yeah.
you know, um to be more open for these parts of experiences. Because it's like it's all too heady anyhow, and heady to a degree that, you know, I think again the impact comes from admittance of failure, not from any theoretical model, but the way to try to bring that into life, and that way is to fail and to have humor in failure.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, again, it's like Ken Wilber. So he wrote all these books, and they were like kind of semi-successful, and then he basically broke into the scene because he wrote a book about the failure of his relationship and his failure to deal with that properly, and the grace he found within. So, and that became an absolute bestseller,
Oh,
and
Grace
that's
and
why he
Grit.
became. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It was not it was, I mean, he was like, the books were kind of semi-successful, the books before, but it was really Grace and Grit where he, you know, admitted of being, his admittance to be a human being of failure, which the people really connected with.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and I guess that's the transition from philosophy to art in a sense, like just
Right.
just straight up philosophy or straight up mind.
Yeah.
The artistic aspect is always related to tragedy and failure and vulnerability and just absurdity
Yeah.
and beauty and excess
Mm.
rather than whatever coherence that his theories had or had not.
Yeah.
If there's no human there, then what's the interest? um, it's just an empty cathedral or something.
That's why I love Henry Miller, because he dug in the dirt, and there's so much humor also in his books, really.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he begins his book saying that I'm a failure in every sense of the word. He says,
Right,
"I
that's
have no
true.
money." This is like the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
best
yeah, yeah.
line
That's
of any novel ever. He starts the book saying, I have no money, I have no hopes, I have no resources, I have nothing. I have just nothing. I'm a failure in every sense of the word. That's what
true.
he says in the first
Yeah,
line of his great book, Tropic of Cancer. I'm a
yeah,
failure in every sense of the world. And then now that I've failed in everything, I'm just gonna write. I'm just gonna tell you. I'm gonna give you the whole thing. Not no holds barred. And that's almost a redemptive moment, right?
yeah,
Um, there was no, and then this kind of the pretentiousness was over, and he could finally write because most of the writing we do is very pretentious.
yeah,
And then if we can get into that spirit where we're not trying to impress somebody or use fancy vocabularies and we're just in it for the um, the pure kind of like playful inspiration, then we've got somewhere, you know.
you really knew the quote. That's impressive.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's like my favorite line in any novel ever. That's the first line of Tropic of Cancer.
Yeah,
I'm a failure in every sense of the word. What a beautiful way to start.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see.
Um, you know, He also says like I'm Henry Moon.
Let me see. I had it somewhere. Where is it?
Maybe I can
Uh,
find it. I have
there's
no
like,
money, no resources, no hopes.
yeah.
Where is it? I have no money. Oh, I can't find it again. I had it and then I lost it.
I have it somewhere on my phone, but I don't find it yet. Mm.
I have no money, no resources, no hopes. I am the happiest man alive.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. That
Yeah.
was actually I forgot that part. I'm the happiest man alive, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a failure in every sense of the worord, and I have no hopes, and I'm the happiest man alive. But at that moment, that's how he was feeling when he arrived in Paris. I might be
Mm.
mixing up the beginning of two books because he also has a beautiful beginning to his novel Sexus, right? I think that's the beginning. So Tropic
No,
of
no, no, no,
Cancer
no. You're
is
right. Tropic of you got that right. It's
Tropic
not
of Cancer is when he says, "I have no money, no resources, no hopes. I'm the happiest man alive."
right.
Sexus, I think, is when he says, "I'm a failure in every sense of the world," and that's when he falls in love with
Ah, okay.
June.
Mm.
At the
Yeah.
beginning, when he meets June, he says, "You know, yeah, he was just I'm just a total loser," and then I met this woman, and that started off. That was kind of his muse that started him off on this kind of like writing adventure.
Yeah.
But I like his books too because it there's a kind of anarchism to it. He doesn't belong to any sort of. He's not beholden. Um,
Yeah, he was a full mensch, really, like a
yeah,
complete round mensch,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah,
So more than like I mean like there are only a few people and from I know pictures or videos from, where I could say, okay, no, that's a full-fledged human being, that has integrated shadows and lights and has, has retained the dignity in a kind of way. And
yeah,
so, I mean, Henry Miller certainly belongs to that class of people that, embody wisdom in a way that, I would hope like people like Buddha also had, you know. There's something that they have that just transcends, our normal way of being. I don't know, there's
yeah. And
something
it's the
else.
profundity at which they failed in the early part of their
Yeah,
life,
yeah,
which led them to this sort of transcendence. I would
right.
say.
Yeah,
It's interesting because that's kind of what I was talking about with Jordan Hall in our conversation and his conversion to Christianity. Kind of
yeah,
he tried everything, and then he kind of found that. Well, I mean, you know, found something that was he found his home in something that you know wasn't was the result of a failed mission.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, maybe the riz that we were talking about is, I mean, we're talking about charisma,
yeah,
and
yep, yep, yep.
charisma is that gold in the dirt. And as long as you don't admit to the dirt, then you can't find the riz. That's what it is,
Yeah, yeah. You stay at you kind of it's kind of like it has to be embodied, and to be embodied there has to be some character and suffering behind it, and then it gets
Yeah.
embodied, and then there's the riz, yeah, for sure.
And there's some,
Whereas you might have spectacular sort of pyrotechnical, you know, you might be really good at technique.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, but you can't play the piano like Thelonious Monk. You can only just do things really fast and impressively.
Mm,
Um,
yeah. It's weird because I mean, Riz charisma is always pathos. You can't. It's like a complete different domain than logos. It's like you can't.
mm.
They're not irreducible to each other. You know that what I mean is like you can't approach charisma or Riz with logos. It's impossible.
You can't construct charisma that way.
No,
You can't think your way to it, right?
no. It has to
Um,
come from your guts. It has to come from your groin. It has to come from
yeah.
your erect dick that fucks the earth. That's what it is. Have you seen Salt?
Yes, Yes, I think you've said it, Tom. You're erecting the fuck to the earth. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah, but it's one of the enduring secrets of philosophy, you know. That's why the philosophy can't penetrate, ideas we like charisma or the diamond or whatever, because it's a different sphere. And I mean, we have this seminar with Alexander Barth now, and we
Yeah,
talked yesterday a lot about, this different spheres, logos,
yeah,
pathos, and mythos. And so it's like you can't think your way to the diamond. You can't think your way to charisma or talent or whatever. It's just it's a different sphere.
yeah. And I was listening to that last night, and I'm very happy that Alexander has come towards Gurdjieff. Because and I think I understood what he means by the fact they need to be separate, logos, mythos, and pathos. Like
Yeah,
these spheres need to be separate, but there needs to be what Gurdjieff would say is there has to be a relationship between the spheres. Like if you get
yeah,
caught in one sphere, so it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
about
exactly.
changing those separate, discrete spheres and blending them all into each other into some sort of mass or
Right.
synchronizing everything. It's
Yeah.
about letting them be what they are, but the relationship between them, right?
Right.
So they remain discrete,
Yeah.
but also interdependent,
Yeah.
without losing themselves in some blob.
Yeah.
Um, right. So Gurdjieff was. Many people think that Gurdjieff was trying to develop these spheres, like develop your logos or develop your pathos or mythos, or develop what he called the faker, the yogi, and the
Yeah.
monk. But actually, it was like more like develop the relationship between those spheres.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like, there's always, this, especially from the people who inhabit, the logosphere too much, that, that Alexander is a kind of postmodern thinker. I don't think so. I think he's way more integral than, many integral thinkers, because he is able to have these different spheres and work with different systems and integrate that on another level,
Yeah, and
so I
he
mean, like
talks about sex too,
yeah,
which
yeah, we started
philosophers don't talk about sex. What's wrong with them? Why
no,
not?
no,
Like,
I
why
was
don't
like,
Christians and philosophers talk about sex? Why doesn't Jordan? I love Jordan Hall. I had an amazing conversation with him about his Christianity, but they never talk about sex. It's a taboo subject. It's still too dirty, and they're still too pure to go there. Whereas Alexander just goes right there. So I like that.
and we had a seminar and you were there yesterday, and
Yeah.
so I was like prepared to have like a super serious question, and so he started with tits and cocks and pussy and everything, and I was like, okay, so that's the route we are going today.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he gets the high and the low, and some people find that kind of offensive, or
Yeah, but
um,
again, it's so
I mean,
liberating.
even the Protestant in
What
me
is
finds it
more
offensive at
basic
times.
than a
But
wet pussy? What is
what?
more basic than a hard cock? And so that is, again, it's like that's life.
That's what
That's
Henry
the
Miller did too, right? He's like,
yes,
thank goodness when you read Henry Miller, there's a wet pussy. Like he's talking about our experience and our real concerns, and our deep. He's not just speaking from this pure abstract, sublime thing. He's brought together heaven and earth, so to speak.
right.
Yeah, which is kind of a relief. Um, you know, I remember when I was in much. You can hear it in music. Sometimes music is too pure. It doesn't have earth to it. It doesn't have rhythm. I remember hearing these choirs. They were very new agey choirs in Montreal, and I went to this like this is beautiful, but there's something there's something not. And then going to see like the klezmer, like klezmer jazz, which is very rhythmic and dirty and messy and alive, and it's like thank goodness there's some body here.
And you know what the weird thing is, especially with sex, because like I mean, we are all not some weird, Instagram models. So we all have our imperfections and our insecurities about our bodies. And so and it's like, from if you look at it from a, alien kind of view, so it's like two people having sex is a very weird looking thing, right? It looks weird, the belly's hanging and everything, and everything is weird, but you find immediately the beauty in that if you let it. And so this whole positive body movement, we all have to do like fitness, and we have to have the right diet, and that's all so beside the point, because
Hmm.
if you just enter sexuality with an open mind and an open heart, then it instantly becomes beautiful, and you instantly find the beauty within it. And so it's, but we normally don't think about that in this kind of way,
Well,
that we have to, if we embrace the rawness and the basicness of the sexual act, the beauty is instantly there,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know
It's interesting. In my conversation with Jordan Hall, he talked about the why he became a Christian, and for him it was like aesthetic. It was about beauty, and it's interesting that his wife kind of took him to the church. So it's like, and he was saying that in that his the theology that beauty comes first rather than truth. And I thought that's interesting, like, because we always think, because we're such truth oriented, like this is true or this is not true, you know, and that there's something kind of wrong about that. I think it's the resonance and the beauty that comes first, not what's true or not true, and that comes second, right? What's true and not true, like deciding what is true, comes after the aesthetic experience. So what he decided being true, being Christianity for him, it's his wife was the first one to go to the church because he follows his wife. So even that is very profoundly, about sexuality.
I'm not so sure, Andrew. I'm not so sure, because I mean, we talked about this with Alexander yesterday. So it's like you have not one truth, but you have three truths depending on the sphere of logos, pathos,
Okay.
and
Mhm.
mythos. And so because my feeling always is that especially when it's beautiful, then it's true. And otherwise, when it's true, then it's beautiful. And so it's never like a causality, but it's
One or the
always
other,
happened.
yeah. But what
It
comes
happens at this.
first?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It,
There's
it
no
happened at
first.
the same
I see
time.
what you mean.
It
Yeah,
it
it's not
happens at
first.
the same time.
Hmm.
It's true
Well,
because it is beautiful and it's there. You know?
right. Okay. Agreed. But I think people often think in terms of, like, in a very scientific way about reality
Right.
and the world. So they think it's like it's true because it's H2O, right?
Right.
It's true because we can analyze it in some scientific, technical manner.
Right.
Whereas H2O is not water. It's just a description. That's kind of what I mean. Like people
Yeah.
think, oh, it's H2O, so that's the end of the story. But no, it's water, and that's the first part of the story. And
But
it's not even water. Water is just a word we attach to it. It's divinity, itself, right? The fluidity. So
it's
so it's
part of the
even
real.
it's beyond even that. It's beyond whatever our descriptions are. So we think our
Right.
descriptions are true. So I'm sort of saying, like, we think the left brain world is true, whereas it's.
Again,
um,
but pathos is the real. That is also like a form of truth. The experience of water, the experience of death, the experience of failure. These are like, the entities that are, you know, if you let them, they can be extremely beautiful, even if it's
mhm,
painful.
mhm. Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's the weird thing.
That's a weird thing. Yeah, yeah, hmm, yeah.
I mean, watching, it's like, yeah, I mean, we talk about a lot about Kurt Cobain and Nirvana and grunge, but in the nihilism and in the pain of his, MTV performance, it was just beautiful to see
So
him
it is a
suffer.
nihilism in the way. Like, even the most nihilistic nihilism isn't nihilism when it's beautiful, right? Uh-huh. It's
It's
almost
yeah,
the it's almost the tech optimism is nihilism, right? Because it has no beauty to it, has no depth, it has no shadow. Whereas that kind of thing, like, or the writing of, let's say, the most nihilistic, um, writer. Who's that American, William Faulkner?
yeah.
Very nihilistic, dark stuff, but it's not nihilistic because it's beautiful.
Yeah, because it's also a performative contradiction. It can't be fully nihilistic. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it would be like yeah, like you couldn't talk about the experience. So you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Is
and I
that
think like the positivity is nihilistic. The affirmation is nihilistic. The nihilism is like is when you take away the shadow of
right?
existence.
Yeah, yeah,
That's actual nihilism. There's no depth, there's no shadow, there's no death, there's no darkness, there's no there's no sex.
yeah.
That's nihilism, where we're just shiny machines, basically. That's all
There's
there
no
is.
wet ass pussy. That's
There's no
true.
wet ass pussy, just shiny machines.
Mm,
Just the smooth, as the Korean philosopher talked about, like the smooth, right?
yeah.
Like the shaved pussy and the
Mm,
plastic bodies and all that. But
yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. Well, there we are, folks.
ending up with the shaved pussy and the plastic bodies. Come and listen to Parallax right here. You can talk about
Yes.
sublime philosophy and
You
asses
know,
and pussies as well.
and did you say pus?
No, asses.
Ah, so asses, yes.
I was watching, yeah, this like Netflix series about this cult of aliens, the Raphaelians, and what they do in the cult is they get everybody to strip down naked and look at their assholes like as therapy. You know? It's like freedom. So he get everybody, give everybody a mirror, and they all go and they look at their assholes.
Their own
Um,
assholes.
yeah. That's
Okay.
part. That's like part of the initiation into this particular cult,
Nice.
this like sex cult that existed, like
Yeah.
called the Raphaelians. They and all the people and the women, they all wanted to have sex with aliens. They were like, because they thought these aliens called the Elohim would come down and they could all have sex with aliens and offend.
Women are beasts, that's for
Basically,
sure.
if it wasn't real, it would be a great science fiction story.
Yeah.
The Raphaelians.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should gaze at each other's assholes way more. Just to
Yes.
say hello, you know?
Just for therapies, just because we think we're so great, but just check out.
Let me have a gander at your asshole. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Another classic, fantastic episode of Parallax View.
Yeah.
Get it here, folks.
Yeah.
Nowhere else.
All right, folks.